have you had, Danielle?
Yeah, right.
Not enough. I've been up since 7 though.
Oh my gosh.
I think I got up at 6:30. Oh, it's too early on a Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh,
Truth
good.
be told, it was 2:30.
I woke up at 8 and thought that was
All
early.
Self-love, man.
Good morning, everybody. We are live with Danielle and Joy this morning talking about self-love. So, ladies, thank you so much for being here. And I think this is such a great topic, not just for people with breast implant illness or who have been through that, but in general, I think everybody can take away something from learning from someone else's experience on how they got to a place of just truly loving who they are for everything that comes with, right? So I'm just going to throw it over to you guys. You guys have anything you want to start with
Oh yeah.
Me, I got something.
Especially after that comment. I don't know that I've arrived at the full self-love and like I'm all that in a bag of chips, and I don't really even eat chips, but there's still well, it's true. There's still like days of sometimes self-loathing and things like that. So I don't know if it's a place to like get to. Joy, what are your thoughts about that?
That's actually a really good point. And I'm glad that you said that. It's an evolution. Like, I know for me, it started, I think, like the beginning of the awareness, wasn't even awareness at the time, was like the desire to have breast implants to begin with, that when I have this, then I will feel enough. And then, of course, society reaffirms that, because all of a sudden, you walk into a bar and I can remember the difference in like how I was received. Like, it was extremely noticeable. And so that affirms that belief, like, okay, now I'm worthy because I have these, which is false. Like, that's a false truth. But like, I didn't know that. My 21-year-old, 22-year-old self didn't know that. And then you go through the process of removing, like, okay, now I have to remove these after 22 years. Like, what does that look like? How's that going to feel? So that was like a whole process. And then you have to learn to love your new body, which was a process. And I was like, okay, I'm good. And then for me, the fat transfer really did a number on my lymphatic system. I don't know what happened, but I would say since I've explanted 3.5 years ago, and at the 6-month mark, I started gaining weight, and I've gained 40 pounds. And like, my legs are like slightly disfigured from the fat transfer sites. And so like, it's really been having to lean into learning how to love myself, and just accept the fact that like, my body's not gonna look perfect in the like way society tells us it's supposed to look. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it is still perfect. Like, I feel like the emotion coming up even talking about that. And I mean, it's been a journey, and I feel like I'm so much further than I ever have been, like, on this like self-love journey. But yes, like, it's a journey, it's a process.
I agree.
Tara, what about for you?
I agree. I mean, obviously, I think we all had our reasons for getting our implants. That's what brought the three of us together. So whether or not you're watching and you had implants or didn't,
or have them now.
Yeah, there's something that brought us to getting them. And for me, it was, I didn't think that I looked or felt like a woman. And I wanted to feel like a woman, and I felt that implants were going to give that to me. So I felt I was filling a void. And once I had them, even though I did start experiencing symptoms almost immediately, they gave me an outward confidence. So I filled out a dress real nicely, and I filled out a t-shirt real nicely, but they were never mine. I never owned them. On the inside or the outside. I hid them, and I inside would think to myself, why did I do this? I couldn't say it out loud because everybody knew it was a ton of money. And, I couldn't say it to my husband, like, oh, hey, so by the way, we just spent all this money on these pretty boobs and I hate them. Like, I don't feel authentic. I don't feel me. And
couldn't breathe, I bet.
Right. And then all the other symptoms that came along with it later to realize that that's what it was from. But yeah, so it was this real, true mind F, if you will, that, oh my God, what did I just do? And so, for me, I think this might be the first time I'm saying this out loud. Finding out that my implants were making me sick was actually a gift because
Like a relief.
Mm.
it got me out of that feeling of not being truly who I was. And, on the other side of that, though, I don't think that I would have come to as much self-love as I have now if I didn't go through that to get here. I know I wouldn't, actually.
It's so fascinating. How old were you when you put them in?
85.
How much? How
old did I feel? Yeah.
No,
No,
how old
it was
were you? Like
35, I think.
So
35.
I wonder, for me, I was barely 22 when I got them. So I was
You were
really
still growing
I
and
was still
all
a
that.
baby, and like my brain was still developing. So I had the opposite experience, like what was happening like within me, and then that external validation. I was like, this is who I'm meant to be, and like this is like my boobs are like who I am. Like they were like a part of me. And I mean, I had them 22 years, and I got constant validation of like how great my body was, how great my boobs were, like. So removing them, I was like, I don't know who I am without them.
Yeah. And I'm gonna push us, all three of us, right? Because this is my inquiry as well. That I think that what we've really just been talking about is self-acceptance, not self-love.
That is true. I would agree with that. Yeah.
So what would you say is the difference? Like, how would you define the difference?
I might need I might need you to like, so people don't hear the dead like Danielle going, I gotta think about this. There's what is, and that's acceptance. No matter if you have implants, that's what is. Can you accept them? There's you without them. Like, so there's an acceptance of the what is. Like, I mean, that's a little too deep.
No, like I get what you're saying. I actually would agree with you. So I think there's like, first, like some people have that self-loathing, which is the place where I was when I first put them in. And
it's not a static thing. Like if anyone's listening, I don't think, I mean, this minute I could be like, oh, I could easily flip to self-loathing or to, I mean, I don't know. There's also distinctions of loathing and hate, and our culture is a currency. Our culture is, this is the way it's supposed to be, but it's not the way it is.
Our culture teaches us that you have to have this to be this. I see it already in my girls. I don't know if you see it in your girls, Tara. Like, like my kids are already, because they watch like God knows who on YouTube, and they're like, I need Gucci. They literally like sat down and made a list of all of the like brand names, and I'm like, I don't know. Like they think they need that. I think they know not plastic surgery, but because of they know my story. But
yeah, I the same thing with my girls, Joy, and sometimes I'm like, where do you get this from? Like, this is not.
I live in pajamas. I'm like, clearly you're not getting that from me.
Right, but my fear is that social media is more of an influence than the women that they're living with right in their own home.
Well, I think it is, and it's funny. Our daughters are almost the same age. My older one has a phone with social media, and I feel like I can't go back at this point, but I'm very intentionally not giving the younger one, who's 11, if that hurts her socially, then I'm actually okay with it, because I feel like the benefit to not being influenced at such a young age by what you're going to see out there is far greater than having less friends. If you're not going to be friends with somebody because you don't have a phone, it's like a whole nother subject. But going back to like self-loathing and static and whatever, yes, I agree with you. And I would say like I've hit the point of self-acceptance. Like, this is my situation. I accept it. I will learn to love it, but I can't yet say and I love it. Wait, hold on, wait. But what I will say is what it has forced me to do is to stop focusing on the external. And what I can sit here and say is I have truly, and I actually was moved to tears a couple nights ago, feeling such immense gratitude for the 40 pounds, because it forced me to learn to love who I am on the inside.
Okay, so Tracy says, when you learn to love yourself, you will then accept yourself. So is that kind of what you're saying then, Joy, right? Like you...
Sorry, guys.
No, you think you came to...
Hi, cat butt.
Cat.
Yeah,
Dude,
I love you too.
I mean, it's a mess. Like the whole thing's been a mess in my head, and I don't know that I could yet, if ever, pull the thread to say like it's the chicken or the egg. It was just the weight gain kept coming and coming and coming to the point like I don't have a scale anymore. Like I literally don't have a scale. I don't have any idea how much I weigh. And I just had to stop focusing on that and learn, like, just I really like who I am as a person. Like I can say like I really truly like love who I am, and I accept my body. Like I'm not quite there. I would love to get to the point.
It just is your body. Your arm is your arm. Your left hand's your left hand. It just is.
No, it feels different. No, it's like my arm is my arm. I don't judge my arm. So, you know what I mean? Like I can move my arm. I can use my arm. I don't judge it or think about it. I still do wish my body looked a different way. You know what I mean? I miss wearing, I love rompers and jumpsuits. I miss being able to fill them out. You know what I mean? Like I miss being able to put on almost any item or outfit and have it look great on me.
Yeah.
Let's back up a little bit, because I don't know that you have to have acceptance and then love, or love then acceptance, right? I think it's not that simple or not that linear, and I love linear. And I do think though, so I'm trying on this new word called equanimous or equanimity. And
can you define that for some of us?
No, like I can look it up and Google it.
I don't know what it means.
What it means to me is that, I'm not, can you bring nothing to it? I can bring nothing to my left hand except for, where's the camera? Look at how that pinky sits. Damn, but if I do this, it fits better. But anyway, right? So I can't really if I can bring nothing to it, right? If there's not a story around it and I don't judge it, it's not good, it's not bad, it's indifferent. It's not even indifferent because that's even a judge, right? So where I'm at in this whole process of even just this left hand is I see myself judging it. And I'm not going to judge the judger, right? I know I'm going a little deep, but bear with me. I think it's that awareness that brings us who we be, because it's in that awareness, and this is Jax, by the way. I think that's an ego state, and ego is not wrong. It's there to protect us. But when we get to know who we be ego-wise, adornment, makeup, tattoos, Egyptian eyeliner, that is, it's just part of our history and our culture. And but to know ourselves as far as like who we are as the observer, like we've got, like, hey, if you want to wear that dress, that's not a bad thing. And wanting to look good is not self-loathing or even, that kind of, so there's this crucible or this crux that I think I would love to try to define with you guys.
Well, it's funny you say that. And I think, Danielle, you and I have talked about this before, but when I decided like, okay, I'm going to remove my implants, for a few moments, I thought, oh, I'm not going to do any kind of reconstruction because I should be able to love and accept myself without it. Right. And then I'm watching people who are doing this, who literally like can't look in the mirror without crying, or are like taking showers with bathing suits. And like they're back to this self-loathing place. And what I really ultimately realized is I deserve more than that. Like, I deserve to be able to look at myself in the mirror and not hate what I see. Ideally love what I see, but like not hate it or not
Yeah.
feel disfigured. And so I think there's this judgment of people that, like, even if you know, you nursed 3-4 kids and you want implants, or you want a lift, or you want fat transfer, or like whatever the reason is that you want to look better, like there's this judgment, like you're supposed to look this certain way, but you're also supposed to accept yourself totally the way you are.
Right,
And
right,
it's
right,
like,
right, right. It's the same thing.
It's all the
Mhm.
same thing, and it's confusing. And so like ultimately, like my choice to do the fat transfer that felt like self-love. Like I
Yep.
love myself enough not to disfigure myself.
Yeah, and not like a make wrong to those who will do this. And this is the root of who you be. And it might be who you want to be today, but maybe 3 months from now or 6 months before or whatever, like that's gonna shift. So, but it's the choice of acceptance. It's the choice of love, not the have to of either, that I think I have found freedom, right? Like I really struggled with this last surgery to remove the bursa. Well, if they can remove the bursa and I can have movement, that's why I'm having the surgery, right? And then Dr. Cortezes, who was on just a couple of weeks ago, he was like, but my job is to have you look good, right? And I was like, well, I do want to look good. I don't want to be uneven. And then Tom, who's been on here, he was just like, there's nothing wrong in wanting to look good. And I think to further that statement is, where are we coming from when we get implants? Are we coming from any type of make wrong, any type of not good enough, any type of unhealed emotional injury, any type of what? Like if I, God forbid, and the, you know, and not that this is any, I came from the wanting to look different side, wanting to look better side at 48 years old. The women who go through breast cancer and have things taken away that I can't relate to in this moment, I can only imagine. And then to want to feel feminine again because of how we're brought up, our moms, our society, our whatever, not like a make wrong, but like I get wanting to not feel like a boy. I get wanting to not have to look at my body and think cancer and things like that. But I'm sort of digressing. But in that, there are wounds that I think need to be addressed or healed or processed. Not necessarily like, oh, melodramatic, but some of us have some big shit we've got to work through. Like I didn't even know I had shit to work through until BII, right?
Totally. Oh my God, totally.
And, you know, Tom and I were talking, and we talked, his fascination is around like pregnancy and postpartum, and mine's around BII, because I think, or whatever autoimmune illness you have, what's the root of it, right? If you can't be free up here, I find it in, at least in my clients and in myself, there's only so far you can get with your vitality. And I don't know if any of this is making sense, but that's the root, I think, of who we be and accept. And not accept, like, I don't want to just surrender and accept. I want to be able to acknowledge and be. And I don't think society has taught me that language. Is that too much?
No, see, but right there, you just did it again. You're like, am I too much?
Yeah.
Sharing who you are, and then we stop and question, am I enough? Am I too much? Like,
exactly.
There's
Yeah.
yes.
We have a lot of comments, ladies, about, you know, just no, it's all good. You know, just about the societal storm that is out there. You know, saying it starts with Barbie dolls and that figure, right? And
blonde Barbie. You can't get blonde.
And now, did you implants, if you're a model and you don't have implants, you get paid less money. And I'm sure that you get pressured and berated for not having them. I mean, that's the norm. Okay. You
No,
can't.
that's the currency.
What's that?
I'm going to call it currency. You can
Yeah, I
swim
like
in that lake or that ocean. You can live in New Jersey, you can live in Ohio, you can live in Florida. That's the currency in which you're swimming. That may or may not be the place you want to express yourself. It may be, right? But I would love to talk with anybody, not like a make wrong, but to see where they have vitality, right? Sorry, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay.
No, but you're right, because I've shifted where I hang out on social media, because that is not the currency or the frequency
Is that why
I
you
want to
don't
immerse
follow me?
myself in. No,
I
but
gotta
like
lighten it up a little bit.
I've left some breast implant groups or fat
Yeah.
transfer groups, or muted them, because the conversation is so heavily focused on what we look like, what we look like, what we look like, what we look like. And for me, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that for the people in there, but I'm saying for me, I needed to shift my focus.
Yeah. And just for full disclosure, like I just had surgery, and with that surgery to remove the bursa, I did have fat transfer and a lift. Right?
Good for you.
And I feel really great, and I feel really healthy, probably more so because he removed the bursa. But I just didn't want people to think like I'm all like that was a choice I made and struggled with and went with, and it totally worked for me, right?
But I think
you have to apologize for that.
Yeah, no, and you hit the nail on the head. Is we need to examine the reasons why we're making a choice, whatever the choice is. Even if it's you want to sit down, you want to eat a pint of ice cream. Why am I eating the ice cream? Am I doing it to avoid something? Am I doing it to hide something? Or am I doing it because I really want the pleasure, or I want to seek the comfort, or whatever it is? Like, just know why you're making the choice.
Yeah, and even if it is to avoid it, damn it, own it.
Yep, totally.
And that's how I started to get the self-love. And then I put boundaries in there around people and around things and choices that allowed me to be in integrity with me. Then it allowed me to trust me, because I would honor that for me. Mm-hmm. And then I could stand more for me, and that gave me more love for me. Mm-hmm. So, and part of the too much is definitely a story. So you nailed that. And I just want to make sure people are following, right? Because I've thought a lot about this shit. And we haven't even talked on the trauma part of the healing and why we don't heal from BII.
I think
Sorry, Tara.
We should do that as a separate talk. Because I feel like we get pretty much into that for a whole session. So, I mean, okay, so there's self-love, and then there's also self-care. Because I feel like
good one.
Self-care, and they come together, and for me, it looks like putting myself first and not feeling guilty for it. Cherishing my health and doing the things necessary to take care of me, because when I'm taken care of, I do better at taking care of those who need me. And I think it's like all encompassing. And so how, if somebody's feeling lost and guilty for putting themselves first in this life, how do we inspire them to get past that and to really embrace that it's okay?
I mean, I think you have to, for me, which resonate, if there's anyone out there listening who has children, is if I don't put my own self-care, which is sleep and proper nutrition, and some space,
speaking of,
I'm not showing up in the way that I want to show up and parent my children.
Right.
But I think it goes so much deeper than.
You have someone behind you.
We're on live TV. You want to say hi?
You're on TV?
Sorta.
Can I go watch TV and see if you're watching?
No. So keep talking, you guys. I'm distracted now.
Oh, too funny. I love it. This is real life though, right? I mean,
real life. I thought I locked the door, but apparently not.
So, yeah, I mean, I just had to get to that place where putting myself first, I stopped feeling guilty about it. No, I need some space. I need some time. I need to put myself first. No, I need to spend money on, this or that for myself, because it's for my health and I want to feel good and I deserve to feel good. So I think that all falls into, self-love isn't just about the way you look. It's about sticking up for yourself, because it's not just implants that we implant into our lives that are toxic. It's people.
Yes.
It's
yes.
Thank you.
Yes. And I also think like right now, it's been very interesting for me to kind of observe like some of the things that I would have called self-care before, which felt easier, like getting a massage or a pedicure or doing my hair, like insert whatever it is. I can't do that. You know what I mean? So I've had to go like deeper and like look at the wounds, and it's, I'm going to go for a walk in the rain and cry while I walk. I'm going to go downstairs and hit the heavy bag with a bat. I'm going to lean in and do breath work or like inner child work or journaling or something, just to deal with the big feelings that come up during this time.
Yeah.
Tara, a couple of things. And one is I realized in some part of the journey, I was doing self-care things, but they weren't having me dive deep and do the work, if you will. They were, sometimes they were just keeping me so I could stay alive, right? And then some of them were helping me avoid other things. And so there's always a distinction of where now I can check in and see where I'm coming from. But in the BII thick of it, shit, I didn't know my left from my right? I couldn't tell you any of that. So I'm curious, because I live with Jax, who you saw, and 2 other 4-legged critters. So for me, there's always the grass is greener, but like having kids and a husband and a job, like how do you assess where your cup is and what your limit is? And then I feel like I'm still learning my boundaries, and I couldn't necessarily even verbalize what they are to you today, right? Like how do you guys do that?
I think Joy can talk about how she knows when her cup is overflowing, because I think she ends up in her basement slamming a heavy bag.
Which can you build one for me?
That was the first time that I've ever done that. Like I've heard about like
right?
somatic release has been, popping up in my social media and like shifting out of patterns.
Come to Charlotte.
And so that's what this COVID-19 has really taught me, is it's so highlighting where my patterns are, which has been typically to numb and avoid. Right?
Ooh, that's brilliant.
And so like that's the blessing in this for me. They say like your change or becoming, there's some meme that I could think of that like doesn't, like people think that self-care is pedicures and like it's gonna feel good and it's touchy-feely, and that's fine. It's for sure a first step if there's somebody out there who isn't taking,
or a second and a third even. Yeah. It's still good.
But like, yeah, I'm all about the pedicure. It's fine. But what I'm saying is it's going back to what you said, Danielle, looking at why am I making this choice, whatever it is. Am I doing this? Is this a pattern for me so I can observe and avoid the hard thing that's going to propel me towards healing or propel me forward? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so for me, that it was actually, Tara talked to me like the day that I did that. I was really irritable, and it like I was like, do I get drunk at 4:00 like by myself on my couch? Like these are I don't even really drink that much, but like these are the thoughts that I'm having because I was so uncomfortable with myself. And my daughter asked me finally, because I made a comment. I was like, I need you to please listen to me. because I really feel like I want to throw something at the wall right now. That's how angry I was. And she was like, Mommy, can we go downstairs and hit the walls with bats? And I was like, and I felt like I'd been to a spa. But what's interesting is when I released that, it took 10 minutes, not even that, of me screaming curse words and hitting a big heavy bag with a bat. I felt like I went to a spa. That It was just, we got to release that energy.
Yes. And that release is going to look different for everybody. You know, for some, it's going to look like that. For me, it looks very similar to what Joy is explaining. You know, sometimes I'll drive in the car with my music real loud and I'll cry and I'll scream the lyrics. I'm not even singing. I'm screaming my heavy metal music. Like, and that just works for me.
Some people run. Some, you know what I mean? Some people exercise. Like, it's just, we have to get that release out. And I think
that's self-love.
Yes. And I think that's ultimately what we need to do to heal us, because when we don't release that energy, it stays stuck inside of us. And that's what shows up 10 years from now as autoimmune. I'm telling you, and this is a whole different subject.
When the body says no, when the
but 10 years from now, people who are, I see all the women on TikTok getting drunk all day long, avoiding their feelings. 10 years from now, what's happening now in our world is going to show up as illness for people. If we don't cry and release what we're feeling.
Yes, I agree 100%. And I can tell you, we were supposed to do this talk last week, and I bailed on the girls because I said,
"No, you didn't bail.
Well,
you did the work.
Right.
You did the work.
I didn't bail, and I was digging deep into my feelings, and I had a day where we're going to call it released all day, all over everybody who came into my site. And my face actually cleared up afterwards.
Yes.
And I thought,
yes.
Holy shit, I released some major stuff because I could see it. I could feel it. It was amazing. So yeah, it's going to look ugly sometimes. And it's not always going to be pretty. We do have some comments here. So what I want to mention is there's a Facebook user that says, I guess maybe they still have their implants right now, and they're saying she's saying she's all over the place. So like, still have your implants, and we have a lot of ladies right now who are waiting because they are in limbo, can't have their surgeries right now. I think we're all going to probably encourage you to find a release, right? Would you agree?
Absolutely.
While you're waiting.
And I can say that I know that I didn't have this thought process before. So now I can do things and empower myself. But until I got that, I did that sounded so bad, but body workers, visceral manipulation, lymphatics, somatic experiencing in that way, psychotherapists who do EMDR, somatic experiencing with a psychotherapist is a little different than with a body worker. You know, it is like when the body keeps score, and all these emotions can land in the body. So however you release them, hopefully respectfully to yourself and to others, is a good thing.
And the other thing I just want to say, if there's anyone out there watching feeling like, oh, I don't have the bandwidth to go do some of the things that we're talking about here, is, you know, we're all a couple years out. And I just want to say that when I was in the thick of it with BII, one of my huge symptoms where I went from 0 to 10 with a temper or anger, like I didn't have that moment or that second to pause. And I didn't understand that it was like, what I assume now is like my liver was so taxed from the toxins of the implants, and I felt angry, and I so judged myself. I thought I was a horrible person because I was doing things that like I didn't want to do, but I literally felt like I couldn't help it.
You can't do anything different. I mean, you can't. I mean, if we just talk brain fog, which I think all three of us had, Joy, right? You can't. How do you help yourself with the brain fog?
You can't. You can't. I mean, your own way most days.
Yeah, and I mean, I could list a thing like a practitioner would tell me. Here's Jax, you guys. He doesn't like my coffee, so he's out. You know, there are things. There's something called cell danger response, right? And your cells can have I'm going to like totally not talk like a PA or whatever, but like your cells have a fight and flight as well. Your emotions have fight and flight as well. If your cells are already taxed because of the shutdown of the methylation system because of the breast implants, hence all these symptoms that we're having, right? Like we're already at a deficit. And then what it brings us to is, what were we given at the age of 2 and 3 and 5? What are our coping mechanisms? The first time you were yelled at by your mom, fire hot, say, you chose, you chose to be a certain way over that smack or that yelling or what have you. And I think those defaults that were created, we're brought to when we have things like autoimmune, BII, chronic fatigue. And that is it. And in a way, I'm almost there. I'm not fully there yet. It's a gift to be able to look at our default mechanisms, because when we come to the other side, we can see what that is and work with it. And I'm 2.5 years out and I'm just getting there, right? So I don't want to make it sound like it's like a flip of the switch. And there's a choices along the way that Dr. Gabor Mate says, and when the body says no, is there's something around authenticity versus attachment. I'm not a psychotherapist. And when you think about how we are born, babies are born needing their mom, needing their dad, needing society, needing whatever. Like, and there's a lot of us who don't get that, like Jax, apparently. And when the fire, like if your mom says, big girls don't cry and good girls don't cry, and then you don't cry, but you really want to cry, but you don't because big girls and good girls don't, you just gave up your authenticity for attachment. And it's not a bad thing. It's not a wrong thing. And it's not even indifferent. It's just what happens because you want to stay alive and you need your mom to feed you. Everybody goes through this. And so it's those choices with culture, with mom and dad, with all of that where as we grow older, we're being brought back to our authenticity and to see where we chose differently. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm happy that was deep, but that's where I wanted to go.
Really deep. And Danielle, that actually speaks to the mother in me, because as a mom, when you are frustrated and angry with your kids and you say to them, knock it off, it's fine, don't, and you're not allowing them to react in the way that is authentic to them. And I'm changing that in them. And so you're speaking to the mother in me right now, like, oh God.
But it's not a make wrong, and it's human, and it's not something you can necessarily change. It's, again, something to be aware of without judgment. That's equanimous. There's your definition, right? And when we can do that and then honor the person on the inside, like, and then take your daughter to the room and say, did you want to beat the fuck out of that wall or that bag, right? Or maybe you don't say the fuck word on Facebook. Again,
I do. I wasn't going to here, but I do.
Yeah, I had told people it would be off the chain, so I had to drop it at least one time. So, but like really, like you've got to be you and fully you, and then own that. And sometimes that means making up and apologize and that kind of thing, right? And I think, honestly, I think that's the self-love. That's the I don't know that I'm going to reach self-love in its like sense of the word, but I am striving for compassion. And that compassion allows for failure, allows for winning, allows for losing. I mean, it allows for everything. And if I can have that for me, then I have room to have it for you guys and everybody else in my life. And I want that. I want compassion for everybody. And to me, that's loving.
It's funny. I'm working with like a business mentor coach who's like a lot more has not anything to do with business systems in the way that you would think. And one of the things that she actually said to me was, what if instead of judging something in someone else or ourselves as toxic or good or bad or should or shouldn't, she was like, what if we just realized and accepted the fact that we're all humans having a human experience? And that has been so freeing for me. That's been really helpful.
I like that. Yeah. I like that a lot. And I do. I mean, I'll take my kids aside and apologize. Like, you know what? That was really, we shouldn't have done it that way. Let's do it over. And just to be human, mommy's human. I do things wrong. I make mistakes. You make mistakes. So I like that. I like the fact that I like how you're a person put that, Joy. Yeah. So let's see. We have some other comments. Yeah. We have one person who
Tracy's like, oh, is that a bad word? No, it's not. Equanimous.
No, I think she was talking about the F word.
Yeah, I know.
Okay.
It's equanimous. It's fine. And I'm from Massachusetts. That is literally a word.
This person has a son who's always lashing out and stressing her out. Yeah. Don't have the skills to be present right now. Yeah. I mean, being present is hard, especially right now when we're stuck with each other and it's all the time. And it's like, I feel in particular, like I don't have a breathe. And then if I want to take a minute, it's like, well, where are you going? What are you doing? Where are you going?
So what do you do?
I explained to everybody that I'm going to be a better mom when I stop doing whatever it is that I need to do at that moment. So like whether it's I need to go for a drive or I'm just going to go to the store by myself or, it's anything. It's just, I tell them that this is what's important to me right now because I can't at that moment. I just can't.
And then what do you do?
And then I do whatever I need to do, whether it's listen to my music or, come down the basement and work out, whatever it is. And then I'm typically much better after I've taken a minute and I've breathed a bit. I just need a minute. I like me and I like to be with just me sometimes. Like I do. So
it's a need.
It is. And I don't think that it's selfish. And so I let them know, like, I just can't do you right now. I gotta do for me.
I actually think that we do our children a real disservice when we don't model that for them. I'm sorry if that's not what somebody wants to hear, but like, I feel really good that like my girls have watched me and my son too. Like my son will grow up assuming he marries a female you know what I mean? That like, he will know like his wife is going to need him to do this and she's going to need space. And like my girls will know because they watched me, I'm going to work out in the morning before I come out and make you breakfast or talk to anybody, or I'm going to go for a walk by myself. They watched me do that. It will be normal to them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a gift that you can give to your children to let them know that that is okay.
Just in the same way, like how people talk about like, let's exercise and show our children what exercise looks like, or we should show our children how to eat vegetables. Like, I think this falls into that category as well.
Yeah. And in addition to it's a gift to the kids, it's a gift to yourself. And I think that's the compassion, that's the self-love, right? And I know I grew up not thinking that was something to do. Like you always give somebody else the bigger piece of cake, right? But if it's gluten-free, I'm taking the bigger piece. So.
Yeah.
Unless you wanted it, then I would give it to you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
I love you guys.
So how do we, all right, so we're going to wrap it up because if Joy's son doesn't get to do what he was soon, he's going to flip out. So, so what do we want to leave everybody with? I mean, I'm going to leave everybody with this. Breast implant illness broke me to my core. I had never been as low as when I was sick. And my kids and my husband and my mom and everybody got to watch me I'm gonna do this without crying, I promise. Build myself up in such a way that I didn't know I was capable of it. I don't think they knew I was capable of it. I've inspired people along the way, and I'm fucking proud. And I think that is the gift that I have given to myself and to everybody that I can encounter. And to me, it is the definition of self-love to say, hey, I made this mistake. I paid a price for it. I'm going to fix it and I'm going to turn it into something amazing. And that's me.
That gave me chills.
Yeah. You might not have cried, but I am.
So, ladies, thank you so much for being here. I think this is a huge topic that we could definitely touch on again and again and again. So I hope that you'll both come back and we can do it again. And I do think that we need to talk about trauma as well and get pretty real with all of that. So everybody, thanks for watching and stay well. And we'll see you again soon.
Bye, guys.